All right, offensive coordinators, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a little bit different here. We're not looking at any offensive concepts. We're going to take a look at the other side of the ball. We're going to look at the defense and find out what they want to do to try and stop us. So there's a ton of different things they can do structurally, right? The way that they line up their fronts, and also some things with the coverages. Today we're going to really dive into the fronts, okay? And then also a little bit of the coverages that they can kind of pair with that. But if we want to be able to defeat the defense, we have to understand what they're doing to try and stop us. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so here we go. We're going to start with the over front. This is from a 2x2 formation from the offensive side of the ball. So what they're doing, the over front really is essentially taking this 3 technique. This is a 4-man front, 1, 2, 3, 4. They can do a 4-3, 4-2, 4-1. It doesn't really matter how they set that up, but the over front, okay, over front has this 3 tech here to the strength, right? And if things are balanced like this, 2x2, they can just put this guy to the field, right? And then the benefit of doing this, why would you set this up as a defense here? Well, think about the gap responsibilities. He's going to take C gap, he's B, A, he's taking C, and then this guy can leak back into the B gap, but also be able to play any RPO, play the bubble out here from the number 2 receiver. If he had to take the A gap, it's just a little bit further, right? Maybe he has to cheat his alignment in, okay? If he's not the fastest guy, they have to cheat his alignment in, right? That's what you would do in an underfront, okay? We'll get into an underfront in a second, but essentially here's the underfront. We have the nose here, this tackle here, and then he would have to take the A gap, right? He'd have to take the A gap. So the over versus a 2x2 and this spread offense that most teams run nowadays is a really good way to handle this from a 2x2 set, okay? He's gonna be taking A gap as well. And then the other benefit to this is that they can completely remove this guy from the box. Think about gap responsibilities. Everybody has to have one. So you can have your safety take any support, right? He can be a support player. So we got C, B, he'll take A, he's C, he's gonna take B, drawing it wrong. Okay, he'll take B here, and then he does not have to have any run gap responsibility. So he can play pass first, right? This is a huge benefit. Now, any RPOs, you know, if we want to run a bubble here, it's going to be useless, right? He's going to just play this 100% of the time. And if, let's say, we're going to run inside zone to the left, okay, this is what a common thing is. We're going to run inside zone with a bubble, right? Everybody's blocking, so let's say we want to help backside. We get this double team here, okay, we read this defensive end. We're running inside zone. He ends up crashing. Now we pull. We're not going to be able to throw the bubble because he's just going to widen out and take this bubble. And then they'll have this guy come down and play QB, right? So this is how they can kind of set this up. Make him the dive player and him the pitch player, right? And essentially it's just that the QB's going to be playing that role here, okay? So what offenses can normally do in this situation, instead of running this to the boundary, okay, away from running the ball away from this this nickel here, you can run it to that guy, right? You can run it to this guy, and then you actually put someone in a bind. Okay, so now he's got 2 different responsibilities here. Okay, that's the person that we want to pick on in this situation. Now, what they could do is bump this guy in, take away his pass responsibility, shift down into a 1 high safety look, and now they can play, right, a normal 3 deep, 4 underneath type of play. And essentially now they have a 6-man box. We only have 5 blocking, so they're going to be able to play any run play with good numbers and have the advantage, and also take away the RPO. Okay, RPO is really not that effective versus a 1 high safety look. Okay, so that's one way that they can kind of defeat that. But if they end up doing that, right, let's say they go with that method, right? So we're here. Anytime you get a 1 high safety look, the flats and the seams, that's really what we want to target here, okay? Because they're going to have a safety cover in the middle of the field. They've got this. These are all covered here. And they've got essentially, I mean, he'll be a flat defender, but anytime you have number 2 release vertical here, he's got to take it, right? Same thing on the backside. If he releases vertical, the weak side safety here playing the flats is going to have to take that before he jumps and gets to the inside hip here, playing the out or the hitch or whatever it is that you have down there. All right, so now we're going to move into an under front, okay? Notice I put this not as a 2x2 anymore. Now we have a 3x1. A lot of times teams will play with a 3x1. A lot of times they'll play an under front, okay? Because look at what it does in terms of gap responsibilities here. What we have is now he's going to be taking A, so he's here and here. We take A, everybody's covered here. He can bump back into this B gap here, okay? And then they have the ability to have this guy come down here and play. Again, they can keep him out of the box, not having a run responsibility. And then on the back side, they can have a two, kind of a little bracket here, whatever you want to do here. It could be a cloud type of look. It could be a cover 2 type of look. It could be cover 4, and essentially because he has nobody here, and maybe this guy is not too much of a threat vertical. You know, if it is, a lot of times this weak safety will take 3 vertical. But if they're not planning on him attacking vertical, then they could jump this guy back down into the box and just kind of have a little bit of either an inverted 2 or just a cover 4 where they just have this. The Mike will end up taking 3 vertical here, and the weak side safety. You really get a nice bracket on this backside single receiver if you want to do that, right? And then gap responsibilities. Okay, we're here. All right, we're able to take this. He can fold in here. He's not having a run gap responsibility. He's just an extra defender on the outside. Same thing right in here. Okay, so this is a really good way to play a 3-by-1 look. A lot of teams will go with this option. Okay, now the thing that you end up with, imagine this guy is no longer as a tighter look. Let's say he's a receiver and he's out here. The game, you know, the person who's going to be in an issue for the RPOs is going to be this Mike now. And this is what the majority teams do in the spread. You'll see this. Any team that's heavy air raid is going to run some type of version of an inside zone. You can base this backside defensive end, and now you're just reading this Mike, right? If he plays stick, we hand the ball off. We have bodies on bodies. Everybody's able to play. Okay, we have to handle this backside safety somehow. A lot of RPO teams will run some version of, you know, if you don't play him in the flats, if he bails, and they have something they can take on the outside here, you know, hitches, slants, outs, whatever. And then essentially what you have is it's just the game here. If he's going to commit, we throw the stick. If he goes here, then we can just hand the ball off. We got the numbers, and then, you know, we go from there. Okay. And then, you know, with this, the other way that they can handle is they can drop this guy down here, roll him here, and now again they're back into their 1 high safety look, right? So all of these setups, and most defenses like to stay in a 2 high look, at least disguise that, and then post snap, if they want to roll post snap, then they have the ability to do that. But a lot of teams like to stay in this 2 high safety look, and you know, give the illusion that this is dead on the backside, and also give the illusion right here there's no RPO that can really be taken. The only thing that is really a big problem here is going to be this mic, right? And this mic here. So another thing aside from the stick is a 3 vertical, especially if you have a dude right here on the backside. Anything where he presses vertical, maybe a corner, or even just a straight fade, if they want to help. This is the problem that defenses are in with this, is if you got a guy who can run 3 vertical, so you run a smash combination or anything like this. Number 2 presses vertical, it occupies this backside or this play side safety here. And then how is this handled? Is he helping here or is he helping here, right? If they have a stud corner, maybe they just say, we'll lock this up. But if this guy is better than this guy, defensive coordinator will say, okay, well, let's help. And then Mike is responsible for number 3, vertical. And that could be a problem for defenses. So you kind of have to play this game of where is he helping, right? Is this guy better than this guy, right? And is this guy better than this guy? And then it's either this or this, but either way, you'll have some type of shot that you can take with this here, especially if you're running stick, and then you go with a little stick knot or something like that. It's a really good opportunity. And before we jump into the next front, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the run plays that we can have here, right? So let's say we want to run power to the right, okay? How would this really play out? So we're here, down blocking up to the backside backer here. We can take this, we can handle these guys right here. We're gonna pull for the front side backer. And then right here, we're either gonna drive this guy out if he goes upfield, or we either, drive him in. Either way, we're gonna have to read. We either go inside that kick out, or we go outside the down block by the Y, and then we're pulling for this front side backer, okay? And then everybody else just gets body on a body here, and then we're good to go. We can run power that direction. We can run a power read. Let's say, really athletic quarterbacks will be able to do this pretty well. So what you can do is same exact blocking scheme here, right? The only thing that changes is that we're going to bluff this defensive end. Rather than trying to dig him out or drive him in, we're going to arc release All right, we're gonna take outside leverage. Everybody's blocking outside leverage, or he can take the safety here if he flies down the corner bails, right? And then we're just gonna be running outside zone here, shuffle, shuffle. We can read this guy. Our backside puller is still pulling to this Mike. So we have, if the quarterback keeps it, we've got a guard who's able to block for this. If the running back is given the ball because the defensive end spills, then our Y can block the Mike with outside leverage. So we have him handled inside leverage and outside leverage. It's really nice. All right, now we're gonna shuffle, shuffle, read this defensive end. If he goes upfield, quarterback fakes it, keeps it, and runs the power. If he crashes or spills, let me get rid of all this nonsense here. If he goes outside, quarterback shuffles and keeps it. If he ends up spilling, then we're gonna hand the ball off and let it be a foot race here. You know, we have numbers with this here. The only guy who's unblocked is gonna be this free safety. And again, if this guy shoots down real quick and he's able to realize it, we could have him come off and take off and leave this corner to make the tackle. All right, so now we're gonna get into the 3-man front. This is an Okie. So essentially in a 3-man front, a lot of times what you're gonna have is a center who is, he's got somebody head up, 0 tech, and then 2 5 techs here on the outsides. Now, in this situation, you know, we just have a Sam, Mike, Will, or Jack, or Nickel in this situation here. This guy's a DB. It doesn't really matter. It's the same idea here. Okay, and then let's look at gap responsibilities and also kind of how you can really use this defense to your advantage. Okay, so in this situation, you can really move this guy wherever you want. You could. I've seen teams also line him up wherever this tight end is going to be. He could technically not be here and be over here instead. And then essentially what we have, a lot of teams will do a double gap, but I don't know too many teams overseas who do that. I know a lot of teams in the international community that run a 3-man front, but normally they're just, you know, single gap responsibility. So the way that it would work, you know, in you know, the case that I'm used to is something like this, where he's going to be responsible for this gap. He's here, he's here. Again, he's not going to be in there, and then we just make this guy come down and be responsible for this D gap out here. Okay, gap responsibilities, we haven't really talked about it, but letter-wise, but A, B, C, it's kind of, that's a C gap right here, and then D, and then backside it's A, B, and C. Okay, and normally I tag these with -A if we're running the ball to the right here, or if we go, you know, in this case we have boundary, short side of the field, and then wide side of the field. This would be everything on this side of the ball is negative, minus, and then everything over here is plus. Okay, so they can kind of do this however they want in terms of gap responsibilities. If you take this Jack and put him over here, then you could have the same situation we have with the trips, where essentially you have this type of bracket coverage and he can be responsible for the C gap in this situation here. And now you have everybody handled in terms of gaps, right? So you can make him crash in here. He can take this, he can take this here, here, and here. And now he's gonna be extra anyway. So now in this case, we have 2 guys who are here that are extra. So this is, you know, one way that that they can set it up. And the thing from an offensive coordinator's perspective on a 3-man front, I really like this. I really like this if I were playing as a defensive coordinator, if I was coaching as a defensive coordinator, because you're able to disguise what you're doing a little bit more with a 3-man front. Okay, this Okie front, I think you can actually get pretty good leverage with some things. But making these guys crash inside, which we'll talk about in the next one here, we'll talk about an Eagle front, but having these guys crash inside makes it a little bit more difficult. But you do have the ability to mix things up, right? You can have these guys loop over and have a lot of stunting going on, so the gaps aren't so clear as they are. So we look at the under front again. These are pretty clear gaps, right? Clear gaps, players are able to understand kind of what's what just from looking at it. But when you get to a 3-man front, this could cause a lot of confusion, especially if you're going against a team that is not very well studied on their blocking schemes, right? And normally what you want to do as an offensive coordinator is you want to say, okay, when we go to the 4-man front, we have these rules. If we have a 3-man front, we have these rules, okay? So that's one way that you want to handle that. All right, and now we get to our Eagle front here, okay? And this is the one that is kind of, I wouldn't say taken over, but I see it a lot more now than I used to. A lot of teams are running this stuff because now what you do is you put these guys at a 4-eye position. So they're not outside leverage anymore, right? Take a look at the difference here. Okie front, Eagle front. Actually, let me get rid of this guy here. Okie and Eagle, right? Little bit of a difference, but what it does, it kind of bounces everything outside. these defensive ends, a lot of times if we're trying to read a C-gap defender, or if we want to run anything where we can, let's say we look at a pin and pull concept, right? Let's go ahead and draw something like that up. What we could have, we're going to run this to the left here. We could have a double team to the backer. We kick this guy out. We pull for the front side, and then we run up in here, okay? If you want to do this more, this would work better from spread, so we widen this jack out and he's not in the box. And then essentially we have that. It's an easy thing here. But once you get into the eagle front, now things are a little bit different. Imagine we take this Y and we put him out here, and this jack widens out as well. If we want to run this here, we can't drive this guy out. So what we have to do is, let's say we're going to run that pin and pull, the same type of concept here. Let's take this jack, get him out here. All right, get rid of this Y. Now what we have is we have this double team to the mic. That stays the same. We're going to have to drive this guy inside, which is not the easiest block. And then we can't pull inside. We have to pull outside. This is going to automatically bounce this. And then again, this is a difficult block for us to get inside leverage of this guy to kick him out. So it just makes things a little bit easier. And yes, it's also kind of predictable of where the ball is going to bounce, because most of the time it's not going to be inside. Okay, so this is the benefit of being able to run this 4-eye type of look here. Okay, so the way that this can be handled, I really like this in terms of just saying, hey, you know what? If you're going to play that and make us bounce it outside, then fine, we'll be able to do that, right? If we want to run, say we're going to run an outside zone or something like this over here, essentially what you have is we can take this and this up to this, try to reach this guy, and we should be able to get this, and then this becomes a lot easier to reach. And then we're here, right? That's an outside zone to the right or to the left here. And then again, we're blocking MDM with this. So, you know, understand what they're trying to take away. They're trying to force everything outside. Okay, fine. You're going to force us to go outside. Then let's design some plays that allow us to take advantage of that, right? That's the idea, that, you know, that little battle that you want to have back and forth. All right, so now we get to our last one here. This is a bear front. This is a short yardage goal line type of defense here. And essentially, a lot of times it comes down to, hey, we're going to get some type of man with this, right? We're going to get some type of man with this, and then we want to cover every single gap. Cover every single gap. And now these backers here can kind of be a little bit more free with where they're going, and just kind of reading and attacking and plug into any hole that gets open. And it makes it really, really difficult to do any type of gap scheme, any pulling, where, you know, you're trying to get, let's say, a double team here. It's difficult for the center to be able to take this. A lot of times you want to be able to have this back block here, because now we have good leverage, but now we don't have a good situation with this defensive end. And if we do end up, you know, working something like this, it's just a little bit more of a mess. It becomes a little bit more jumble of a mess here. And they also have a +1 advantage here in terms of the box here. So what defenses will do in this case is essentially saying, you're either going to dominate us and you're going to score, or you're going to be forced to win one-on-one matchups on the outsides. And anytime a defense feels confident that they can just do this, then they can stack the box, right? And that's where you have to come up with some crafty solutions here. You know, maybe some type of pick play, or you're, you know, running something like this, a little under. But either way, you have to have some type of rub route so you can win on the outsides here if you're unable to win in the box here, okay? The other thing you could do is a duo, where, you know, we're taking play side leverage. We get this double team up to this mic. We have to try and either drive this guy in or get inside and kick him out. And then we're running in here. We're not going to be able to block this safety, but it is what it is. Okay, if you can go with maybe an outside zone or something like that, but you have to have some creative solutions to these fronts, so you can say, you know, we can run it, but we can also throw it. So you need solutions here. Any type of double move would be really nice. Easiest is really a fade if you have a dude who can just win. Some type of rub route, even a, you know, pick play, something like this, and leak this guy out. Got to have some solution for these scenarios here, so they can't just line up and say, go ahead, we're better than you, right? We're better than you, and you won't be able to score on it. So got to have some solutions. All right, so that is about it for the video. Hopefully you got some good information from that and you have a better understanding of what the defenses are going to try to do to take away what you have, right? So based on your formation, you line up in trips right, they're going to line up in something, right? If they're a 4-man front, it's either going to be an over or an under. If they line up in that over front, right, then now we have a good situation on the backside here, because we know that Will's going to be responsible for the A gap, okay, all the way over. So he can't play the slant on the backside. They'll have to roll safety down, and they'll have to roll into a 1-high safety look, and now we can go to the play side flats. If they line up in the under front, now the mic is going to be in a bind, right? So make sure that you can go through these scenarios and understand them at a pretty deep level, because when you get on the field and you're calling plays, you need to see the adjustments, make sure you know exactly what they're doing so you can find a way to beat that, right? Find a way to attack what they're doing. Every defense is designed to beat something, right? To take something away. But anytime you take something away, you're opening up something else, right? It's the same thing on the offensive side of the ball, right? When we have specific pass plays, we send out 5 receivers quick. We're not trying to throw deep, right? We're not trying to do that. We're trying to get a quick passing game. So there's always, everything is always going to have a positive and a negative. You got to understand what the negative is to that defense so you can find a way to beat it. That's it for this one. I'll see you guys in the next one.